The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the New Media Factory. Some programs on this network might include strong images and language and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello! It's another cold Tuesday.
May dance moves.
Hi, I'm back.
Yes, she's back with her baby.
It's still
Sad. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about money. Money.
Okay, so we chose this episode.
We're giving away money.
Really, we are.
Dadami ng viewers natin.
Okay, so we chose this episode because we realized that as a nation, we're not really known for being very strategic or wise about how we spend our money.
Ang deep naman ng reason.
Oo nga.
As a nation, I just wanted to learn about different investment strategies.
It's a social issue, guys.
Get advice about...
Ako, hindi lang ako marunong mag-save.
Ako rin, hindi rin
So, penging advice.
Our reason is very selfish. Sa'yo may...
Merong overarching.
May national meaning.
Okay, so in 2012, Suze Orman, who's a leading financial advisor, she has her own...
Was that in 2012? Wasn't that just last year? No. Anyway, she's famous because of Oprah. She's in the Oprah magazine and she has a monthly column.
And she has a show now in CNBC.
Okay.
So she gives advice to... Grabe, Shirley, excited ka today. Okay, so she gives advice. People call her and ask her about financial problems. So they brought her here. I think it was BPI who brought her here. And one of the things she made a comment on, which I think went viral when she was here, was that she really hates it how Filipinos support other Filipinos who can actually fend for themselves.
As in, she hates it. Bakit may feelings siya?
She really thinks it's not... Like, she made this comment. The context for that is she feels that the Philippines or Filipinos rely too much on their relatives who are working abroad. And the reason why she's very passionate about this issue is because
because she's really a Filipina.
She's a Filipina working abroad hosting a show in...
No, somebody works for her who's a Filipina. I think her cleaning lady is a Filipina.
Okay.
And whenever she asks her how much money she saved, apparently, like...
She sends it all back.
Yeah, she sends it all back. And to the point that every letter that she gets, the Filipina cleaning lady gets, is all about send money. Send me money because like this. Or even, and then parang what Suze Orman was saying, that her cleaning lady always complains. Parang she feels like she has more and more relatives every year. So, there. So, I think this is a very important topic for us because a lot of Filipinos go abroad to find work, but then they come home and they find out they don't really have enough savings.
And that might not be even reflective of... Sorry, for me, that might just be reflective of how we are not knowledgeable on how to handle finances. Right. Because I think working abroad is not... There's no issue there. That's not the issue. But... Kung marunong ka mag-handle nung pera na nakukuha mo, edi dapat somehow meron kang lilikong.
Okay. I think Suze Orman's direct quote was, Filipinos helping other Filipinos who can help themselves is not helping the country.
Okay.
In the long run. Which is true, right? Because you don't want to form dependent citizens who are able-bodied.
No, and also, just adding to that, our economy is... a lot of our economy is supported by remittances. And I remember my professor in college said that nakasalbabida yung ekonomiya natin because it relies nga on remittances. Parang without them, we can't sustain ourselves.
Right? This is not to say, we have to give a disclaimer though that this is not to say that we are putting down, working abroad or whatever. It's just really trying to, may mga sensitive dyan. It's, what we want to do for the rest of the show is to try and strengthen our skills in managing and handling the money that we earn or the money that we maybe don't even have yet.
Right.
So, on to the next trend that we saw. Hindi pala next trend kasi 2012 pa yung baon nila. I think earlier this year, so mga 2 weeks ago lang yun, nung mga, di ba maraming resolutions, ganyan-ganyan.
Right.
There was this blog entry by kuripotpinay dot, I forget if it's WordPress or Blogspot, but you can Google it. It's a 52-week strategy, saving strategy, wherein you can save increments of 20 pesos or 50 pesos or 100 pesos. Tapos by the end of the year, even if you're only saving at the level na 20 pesos, you could have put aside 27,500.
Which is big for many people.
It's really big. And it's for something na tinatabi mo lang.
Yeah.
Na wala lang. And then nasa almost 30,000 ka na. It's not bad. So, yung scheme niya is kunyari, January 1 to January 7, you set aside 20 pesos.
Right.
8 to 14, 40 pesos. Nagdo-double siya. So, yung mga ikaw, kung nasa school ka lang, pwedeng piso lang na umaabot sa lumalaki. Kasi magkano rin lang naman talaga yung ginagastos mo. Maybe you can base it on how much you earn.
Right.
By the end of the year, though, it becomes a little bit more of a struggle because you need to put aside, say, 2,000 this week and then another 2,000
the next
the
week.
following
But
week.
I think what's good about it is that it forms within you
Super.
that
A
habit of
discipline.
saving,
Yeah, the discipline of
which I think
saving.
is more difficult than
I
saving
need that.
itself. Me also. Okay.
And leading on to our top 5, we actually thought about 5 Filipino traits or habits when it comes to spending that we feel need to be broken.
Ah,
So,
very nice.
or it may be cultural, it may be just a kind of mentality, but anyway, here they are. So, number 1,
They're not useful to you. Okay,
Number
and then
one
we
is the
begin with fiesta. Parang ang dami kong barangay na inaway bigla.
okay, we are a fiesta country. There's a fiesta for the barangay, there's a
Yeah.
fiesta for the sitio, there's a barangay, there's for the municipality, for the province.
There's a fiesta for every saint there
for every
is.
saint, etc. And I know that it's a cultural thing. We love to celebrate. That's fine. But for me, what's wrong there is you spend much more on your fiesta than on, let's say, education, healthcare, waste management. I mean,
Right.
these super basic things that, it's good to have fun.
Let's say-
It's good
lives.
to celebrate,
Uh-oh.
right? But then it has to be done in moderation also, and it has to be done in such a way that it leaves you bankrupt the following day, or you don't have anything saved up for the rainy day.
I wouldn't go for eradicating fiestas.
Yeah, it's
It's
not eradicating. It's just
being
more
mindful.
responsible.
being mindful.
Oo. Kasi yung marami nga, di ba, kunyari, papatayin nila yung natatangi nilang kambing, pero yun yung source of income nila because lang piyesta. Paano yun? Wala naman natang katarungan doon. Hindi siya makatarungan.
Like,
So, yun.
my friend who's a mayor, kilala na natin ko si Pinon. Anyway, for the last fiesta, she slashed the budget in half. And she said, okay, let's do a fundraising scheme. Whatever you raise, I'll match.
Right.
And then she
Ganda.
got so much flack for it. And the LGU did not raise any money. So they were all pissed after, they were
Yeah.
telling me na parang, ay nako, hindi masaya yung fiesta namin kasi malit lang yung budget, ganyan. But then yun nga, it's really that kind of culture, that kind of
Right.
mentality that fiesta should be like grand.
And all the time.
And
buti sana kung yung fiesta isang beses lang sa isang taon.
Ito
diba?
pa yung hindi ko naiintindihan dyan. Meron kaming pinuntahan na it's somewhere in Lanao del Norte na barangay na medyo far, remote siya talaga. Kailangan mong tumawid. Tapos, it's a small barangay. Kailangan mong tumuwid ng ilog. It's a small barangay. Yung inabutan namin na games, paramihan ng nainom na lambanog. At basta talagang lasing, kun lasing. And this is funded by the government? Is that how...
yeah, it's
So,
funded.
iniisip ko lang, kung kunyari, January ngayon, nagpesta ka, siguro sa September, ang dami mong bagong bata, di ba?
Correct.
Yun lang.
At hindi lang yun, if the government can fund a drinking contest,
Right.
why are there no school supplies in this? I mean,
Weren't there enough armchairs in public schools?
why don't barangays even have public health centers? I mean, anyway, we can dedicate a whole episode.
I know.
to that, so we'll
Next.
move on to the next one. Okay.
Next.
There.
Okay, spending 100% of your 13th month pay. So these are for the regular employees.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't relate because I've never had the 13th month pay.
Okay, so you're always a consultant,
Yeah,
right?
so I don't
Do
have.
you spend your entire 13?
Actually, I'm very guilty of this. I spend 80% of my 13th month pay. And which is really bad because it's actually something you can set aside, right? Because technically, you're given a 13th month pay to give you extra money since there are only 12 months in a year. But what happens is that since usually this is given like a month before Christmas, people, parang you feel you give lavish gifts or you suddenly spend everything on a...
I mean, this is me. This is also me. I really don't set aside. Well, except for ngayon or last year.
Where did you spend? Where do you usually spend your
gifts?
Gifts also.
It's either gifts for someone or feeling ko gift ko siya sa sarili ko.
Ay, marami rin akong ganyan.
Diba?
Yung gift ko sa sarili ko. Last na talaga, gift ko sa sarili ko. Pero parang from November 1 to
ang daming
December.
gifts. Okay, titreat ko yung sarili ko sa masahe kasi nagtrabaho naman ako ng sobrang malupit eh. Wala.
Tas nakakailan
Tapos wala na akong pera.
Yeah, so we have to break this habit. Next.
The blowout mentality.
Akala ko blow dry mentality.
Naman. Okay, so yung blowout mentality, yung parang pag birthday mo, mag-blowout ka. If you win an award, mag-blowout ka.
Yeah.
If you get promoted, mag-blowout ka. Parang,
Tapos hindi lang one set yung friends mo, 5 set of friends.
Family mo muna, tapos yung high school barkada mo, tapos yung college barkada mo, tapos yung mga workmates mo, di ba?
Yeah.
Tapos parang kapag hindi mo ginawa, parang may kasalanan ka sa ibang tao.
Oo, or parang they say, uy, hindi ka nag-blowout nung nanalo ka nung award na ganyan.
May utang ako sa'yo. Bakit? Ikaw ba yung gumawa ng award ko? Ikaw ba yung kumuha? But it's also, I mean, ako naman, I've never had this mentality.
Because I never get promoted.
I never got an award. No, but yung kahit birthday, I don't feel like I need to spend on anyone.
You know, in other countries, if it's your birthday, people treat you.
Yeah.
Pero recently, na-feel ko yung joy na hindi pa rin yung tipong pang fiesta levels na kailangan invited yung tita ng tita. Oo, yung anak ng mga tita ko na talagang hindi naman kami nagbabatian kapag nakikita sa mall. Wag na, 'di ba? Pero ngayon there's joy in sharing your money or sharing what you earn. But see, yun na nga, don't be dumb and spend all of it on
I
that.
think that's the bottom line of it. Don't be dumb.
Okay, next.
Right. Eto.
Ito pa.
I'm really guilty of this also. You know what I realized? Parang nagtitipid ako sa flight, sa hotel.
This episode is for you. Okay.
Nagtitipid ako sa hotel, nagtitipid ako sa flight. Nagtitipid
So you
ako.
can have pasalubong?
Sa pagkain, no. But when it comes to pasalubong, kinakard ko lahat. Yeah, this is...
sweet mo naman.
No, I think, kasi diba they say that
Iisip ko, kailan yung next trip nilin?
No, they say gifts at sa language of love.
Pasalubong mentality nila.
Beneficiary ka din. Nagpapasalubong ako.
Thank you.
Okay, anyway. It's not about us. No, but it's true. You know, like, siguro it's okay when you only travel rarely, right? Or if you really have a lot of resources to spend. But like for others kasi, parang some people feel the pressure.
Obligation.
Yeah, the obligation to give.
Have you ever received an expired lotion from a relative? Yung parang pumunta lang sila sa Costco. Oo.
Tapos yung naka-sale.
Kinuha na lahat na naka-sale.
Yeah.
Tapos yung binibiyak-biyak pa nila kasi syempre wholesale yun. Tapos bibigyan ka ng yung meron pang balot ng the rest na hindi pa natatanggap. Parati ako nakakatanggap na.
One mistake that I made when I was younger was that I kept buying pasalubong. Like you know when you go to Bangkok and there are sets of keychains or sets of whatever, chopsticks or whatever. And then when I get home and I unpack, and then I realize, who am I gonna give this to?
Hanggang ngayon, meron pa akong keychain ng Taj Mahal.
Exactly!
Ang pangit talaga, na parang kahit ako, kung ibigay sa akin yun, ano yan? Ang pangit.
Sinadж yung sariling pasalubong.
Hindi ko na nga pala binigay yun sa kahit kayo na except for my brother who loves anything. As in, bigyan mo siya ng bato.
He'll love it.
Yan,
so I think it's okay, again, to give pasalubong when you go on trips, but then be wise and prudent about the way you spend your money.
Send a postcard. If all you want
that's
to.
Even more meaningful, honestly.
I've sent you guys
Yes,
postcards.
thank you.
Which I never got.
Okay, next.
Next. Eto, tingi-tingi mentality. This is a little bit tricky because, of course, not a lot of people. I mean, this is an economic thing.
Right.
So one of the things that I'm really against is the sachet mentality.
Yeah.
But because when I go scuba diving, you can tell the market share of the companies because of the number of sachets that this company has and this company.
Right.
But then, of course, I have to consider that not everyone can buy a bottle of shampoo.
That's true.
Right? I mean, if I have to spend, let's say, 100 pesos on a big bottle of shampoo versus, 2 pesos today, and I only earn, whatever,
and then decide
300.
tomorrow kung magsha-shampoo ako.
Exactly. But for me, if you can afford to invest in larger, quantities, then it actually saves you more in the long run.
Siguro yun, kasi the term investment or the concept of investment is not something that we resonate with.
Right.
Kumbaga kung ano lang muna yung meron ngayon.
Yung parang isang kahig, isang tuka.
Yeah.
Related to this naman, in my experience, like with our families in the school, they tell me, we don't have money to pay tuition fee. But then, all of a sudden, they make palod thrice a day.
Hindi lang yun. Tapos, di ba sabi mo, pag nag-home visit kayo, merong high-speed internet.
Wow!
May 1,000 pesos a month.
1,000 pesos a month. Or merong, yung mga latest, from Betamax to DVD, meron sila. Yung parang they invest their money.
Tapos may mahal na karaoke machine.
Correct. So parang for me, more than the tingi-tingi mentality, yun nga, parang I think we have to really assess where our money goes. Because actually, there was a study done in the Philippines, and apparently, many of the people's assets in the country are on appliances.
And for women, toiletries.
Yeah. And makeup.
Okay. So which is not a wise
Kay Suze Orman din ata yun na study na, or yun yung isa sa mga sinite niya, na toiletries ang nakaka-deplete ng
resources ng mga Pilipino.
babae. Here, lipsticks primarily.
An related story, like when Yolanda hit, we wanted to help some teachers in the public school.
Ay, oo to.
And their wish list.
DepEd had a call for donations of lipsticks. Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I think because the teachers wanted to feel pretty.
Siguro sa June na. Pagkatapos na sila bigyan ng bra, tsaka panty, at saka i-replenish yung mga basics.
Correct.
Tapos,
Tsaka tayo magbili ng lipstick.
Sure yun, because it does uplift spirits.
And it keeps you calm.
Yes.
Okay, so when we get back, we will be talking to a very young and dashing.
An international
guest.
dashing.
Yeah. So, ladies, put your lipstick on. What? Okay, see you in a bit.
Hi. They say nothing in this world is free, and for the most part, that's true. But here at NMF Network, all shows are indeed 100% free. And as an added feature, you have the option to subscribe to all your favorite programs, also at no charge. Why should you subscribe? By subscribing, you no longer have the hassle of delays when you stream the program. You also don't need to keep checking our site to see if your favorite programs are up, because they'll automatically be uploaded to your device as soon as it's available. Here's how to do it. For those people with Apple mobile devices, first you need to download the podcast app. Once you download the podcast app, open it, and you should be taken to the featured page. Now, you look for the store button. Hit the store button, and after doing that, hit the search button. Put your cursor on it and type New Media Factory. All our shows should automatically appear. Pick your favorite or favorites, open it, and hit subscribe. And that's it, you're done. Congratulations and welcome to the New Media Factory family.
What you've been missing on The Factory.
Now we're gonna show you guys the new beta that just came out yesterday. Is God of War Ascension, the private beta
for PlayStation Plus.
PlayStation Plus.
Let's watch it, right? It's nice. Is Enrique playing already?
Yes.
Yep. There you go. And perfect timing. Perfect timing. Well, before that, I was kicking ass. So go with the theme of the show, how not to play.
It's Robot Rice and Friends with Alfonso Martinez, Mickey Han, and Nigel Zalameo. Fridays, 6 to 7 p.m. Only here on The Factory.
Hi everyone, welcome back. So here with us today.
The very back.
Okay, so here with us today is an overachiever. At 27 years old, he has founded his own organization based in Nepal called Light the Way. He's worked for McKinsey, and now he's leading the operations for APEC. It's a large-scale venture to make education more affordable. Ladies and
Grabe,
gentlemen.
nakakapagod yung intro.
I know. Ang dami, ang haba.
Did you say his
welcome
name na?
Mr. James Centenera. So he's born and raised in Australia.
Welcome
but he's
to
actually
Coffee Break.
Filipino.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for finding the time to be here.
Lots of time.
Wow.
Good time management skills. Okay, so our first question, James, is that whenever you share your story to people, you're always very open that you did not come from a very privileged family growing up
In Australia.
in Australia.
Right.
But you've managed to really create a very stable career for yourself. What advice could you give? Like, how did
How did that
Or
happen?
how was
How did it
that
happen?
like?
Yeah, what was the journey like?
I think I just followed my dad's advice really, really well, actually. And I think dads and mothers everywhere tell this to everyone, but it's just about investing in yourself. So working really, really hard, whether it be at school initially, but then when you have a graduate job, and just putting all you can into developing yourself and learning your skills. Because when we were young, we didn't have much. I grew up on a farm in Australia, a chicken farm, and we just went to a pretty basic school. It wasn't an
Is
elite
it a
school in
public school
Australia.
or a private school?
It was a private school, but in Australia you could consider it an affordable private school. It wasn't charging like the elite schools here.
Right.
And most of my friends at school were just farmers as well, or their parents were plumbers or electricians, just normal, regular Australians. But my dad and mum pushed us especially to work really, really hard at school. I was able to do well, and one thing led to the other.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to go to Sydney for university, which I couldn't have afforded unless I was on a scholarship, which I only got because I had good grades in school,
Right.
because my mum and dad pushed me to study really hard. And then I did well at university as well, investing really, really hard in learning as much as I could about engineering. And then eventually just got a good job in Sydney, and that kind of spiraled and connected, and here I am in the Philippines, how many years later?
I think the funny thing about, it's not funny, but what's amazing about that journey is not once did you mention saving money or setting money aside, but it's actually a form of investment. When you say that your parents advised you to
work
invest
hard,
in yourself, storing on skills, working on your skills actually does translate to saving money.
Yeah, I think before you're obviously 25 or in your probably early 20s when you can start working.
Yeah.
Right.
Your job is to invest in yourself as much as possible and really, really develop your skills and talents. Because I wouldn't call myself or everyone, I wouldn't compare myself to Jay-Z, but I think...
Why not?
Go on, no one will judge you.
I think I've taken a similar approach actually to what he has. He calls himself not a person but a business, right?
right.
He started with nothing
Yeah.
and now has everything.
Yeah.
And
We should have
has a lot
invited
of money.
Jay-Z
Yeah.
instead. Not,
Next
why
time,
are you
Jay-Z.
here? Not Jay-Z. Okay, anyway.
But I
And
think
he has
everyone...
Beyonce. That's the most
Exactly.
important.
Everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When he says
Beyonce.
everything, that's Beyonce.
Everything.
A basketball team, everything. And that's just because he invested in himself. So when you can't save money, when you're not earning money yet, and that for most people is until they're 21, 22, then you just have to do the best to invest in yourself. But I think people need to take that mindset going forward as well, right?
Right.
Even after you have your first or second job and you're thinking about changing careers, you can always go study a master's or something specific to really get that advantage to boost your career.
So prior to the time when you have the chance to earn, invest in yourself somehow translates to use your time wisely. Is that and something that will have a return on investment. That's something that will have a return soon.
Exactly.
In time.
And it can be, for some people, it's learning how to play a sport really well, or become awesome at playing the guitar, and that's completely fine.
Right.
And I think reading even.
Yeah.
Everything, and I think
pursue something worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All skills are relevant in the future. Even
That's
things
true.
like running organizations on the side, organizing parties for people, things like that. But then you have to somehow start thinking about a specific career and direction later on.
Right. When did you realize that this is where, like, the direction that your career has taken into? Or were you always sure about where you wanted to
No.
Mine changes every 2 years, pretty much. But I think I found something I really, really like. When I was finishing up high school, I remember I was thinking about doing aerospace engineering.
Wow.
Making planes and stuff. All like little boys who are good at maths and science want to be astronauts and that type of thing. Then I realized actually aerospace engineers these days mainly focus on building bombs and weapons. And I'm like,
I didn't know that.
I don't know if I want to build missiles. Yeah. So then I thought about another cool idea would be to work on saving a big problem that we're facing. And that's when I heard about climate change and it was becoming a big deal. And so I got into photovoltaic, solar cells and stuff like that. And I started working on just becoming an electrical engineer because I didn't know whether I liked solar cells or wind farms. So I thought I'll just be an electrical engineer and then later on I can focus.
Figure it out.
Exactly. So that was an important thing actually. I just left the door open.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick a really specific career early on. I left it open because I also knew that engineers also went into business and other different things.
So it's really more on the skill set that working on each profession could give you, or studying a certain career, more than it being the end of everything, or the end and end it itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about looking at learning things that will be useful for the career you think you may end up in, or others as well.
Right.
So the lucky thing with me was that even though I finished engineering, I actually changed my mind at the end. And I'd worked, while I was at university, I'd worked for 4 different engineering companies. And one of them was a telecommunications company, and it was okay. The second one was a railway company. And no offense to the railway viewers watching, but that was really, really boring for me. Maybe, you'd be surprised.
You never know.
The third one was people that designed integrated circuits in phones and stuff like that. And that seemed interesting and cool, but when you did it, it wasn't really cool anymore. And then the fourth one was finally interesting to me. That was working on wind farms in Australia. Even though I spent a lot of time working for those 4 different companies and didn't end up pursuing engineering, that allowed me to learn that I like power quite a bit, and wind farms, I don't like the other 3. And unless I did that, I wouldn't know.
Right.
And so afterwards, I was able to change actually and go into consulting. And that's when I worked for McKinsey, because they were open to taking engineers, fortunately.
Right. Okay. So we have questions from our viewers.
Yes. I guess this would apply to the part where you're already earning and you're jumping from one
career to another.
So earning gives me such a high. I worked for it, so I have the right to spend it. Still, at the age of 30, I find that I have nothing saved. What are your tips on how not to empty my monthly salary?
I think
I sent that question. I'm just kidding.
Lin Pinugu.
I think actually, first of all, if you're 30 and you don't have something to save up for in the immediate future, I think it's fine spending most of your money. I think saving some money on the side in case something bad happens or
rainy days.
Yeah, rainy days. That's always useful. And I think that's pretty easy to do actually. I think the easiest way to do that is for all of the income you get, just set aside 10% or 20%.
Once you get it?
However much. Yeah, immediately, as soon as you get it, and get it sent to another bank account.
Right, so you don't have access to it.
It's not an afterthought. Like after I've bought all the shoes I've been wanting to buy, and then I'll set aside whatever's left. Okay.
So you never actually see that money in your wallet.
Right.
You don't see it in your normal bank account.
Because if you do, then you get tempted to spend it.
That's
because
true.
you know it's there.
Exactly.
And you know you have access to it.
Okay.
Exactly.
The next question is, you're financially stable. When can one say that he or she is financially stable?
I think I consider myself financially stable now because with my current income and with my current savings, I can keep doing the things I want to do for the next 5-10 years. I think while you're working, that's the kind of view you should take. if you're saving up for a house or a family, then obviously you need to think a bit differently. But ensuring you can look after your own immediate needs and expenses is the most important thing. So whether you have a car loan or a housing loan, or you need to help your parents out, which is completely fine and normal, you just need to make sure that the income you have manages that. If it's more than your expenses, then you're financially stable for now. But just like anything, your stability can change, right? I think you're only truly like financially stable and locked in for life once you've hit retirement. And once you have enough money saved so you don't have to work anymore.
Because the expenses then are not that many. And
it's just for you.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's just for you. But you can also use your money you've saved up you invest it, and you can earn 10% a year or something like that, and live off that income instead.
Okay.
Sorry, a helpful tip I got from another financial advisor was that it's good to have 3 to 6 months of your salary in the bank account. Parang that's a more concrete goal for every person. If you're starting, like try to have at least 3 months worth or 6 months worth of salary saved up.
Okay. What a daunting task. Okay. The next question is quite fun. Dating is expensive. Is it worth it? And how do I show love without going bankrupt?
I think dating can be expensive, but I think actually you don't have to spend if you really want to show how much you like or love someone.
Right.
And I think there are lots of examples of that. You can take someone for a walk along the beach anywhere. We live in the Philippines. There's beaches everywhere.
Let's clarify.
Inamanpulo.
Doesn't have to be that
Balesin.
No, but even on the boardwalk somewhere, there's all nice malls and stuff. Yeah, Manila Bay.
Stare at each other's eyes.
But the other super ultra low cost thing to do, which for a girl or guy they would be extremely excited about, is just cooking dinner for your partner.
Oh, that's true.
Well,
he will cook for me because I don't cook.
But the thought really matters there, right?
Right.
And that, I mean, that counts for more than any super expensive high-end dinner you can take.
Right. Okay.
Very good advice.
Yeah. The next one is, what are good forms of investment for people in their 20s?
I think in your 20s...
which you are in.
Yeah. I'm still in. That's the time actually to invest more in yourself. Rather than invest in things like... I see my friends back home investing in houses already. I think it's a bit too early.
So when you say invest in yourself, what kind of purchases are there to invest in yourself?
Oh, so...
Sorry, yeah,
good question,
sports car?
Yeah.
Not a sports car, actually.
Okay.
I think...
I think she was just joking.
Okay,
go on.
One obvious one is obviously further education.
Okay.
So doing a master's, a relevant master's, makes sense. And there's lots of good open online courses these days as well. So that's an easy one. But the other one...
So expenses that improve your skills.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the other one?
But also improve your perspective.
Right. Widen your perspective, right.
The other one, which is more related to widening your perspective, which I don't think people think about, is traveling.
Great, that was a question here. Is traveling a good investment?
Yeah, I think traveling is a good investment. I mean, traveling to different places. And I think generally meeting different people, seeing different things.
Eating different kinds of food, observing different cultural rites.
Exactly. It's something you can do really easy while you're younger, don't have kids yet or don't have a big family yet. And you won't have those experiences again, and they will actually help shape your life and help you know what you want to do. The only reason I work in education now is because before I worked at McKinsey, during my holidays, I traveled to Nepal for 3 months. And when I was in Nepal, I did a bit of tourism, but also did a bit of volunteer work, which I always find fun because you get to know the local community. And I was a volunteer teacher. And so that trip, which was a holiday, opened my eyes to education and opened my eyes to something I wanted to go pursue later. And I wouldn't have learned that unless I didn't.
Gone to Nepal.
Right. Okay. And then, speaking of volunteering, Well, I think most of our viewers know that Anna, Lynn, and I are quite big on passion projects. So what is a good balance between pursuing a passion project, which is usually has you spending out of your own pocket, and pursuing something that earns instead?
Yeah, I think that's a good question.
Because you're one of the lucky ones. You get to do both.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. But when I was working at McKinsey, my work was pretty heavy and I had pretty intense hours. But like most people, most fortunate people actually, I still had Saturday and Sunday. So I always try to dedicate one day of the week to my side work. So like the way in Nepal. So that was usually my Sunday. And I try to also set aside about 10% of my income. So a large chunk
goes into your passion
goes
project.
into my passion project. So it would go towards donations to the NGO, but also my travel expenses when I would go to Nepal.
Right.
So I'd put that aside every single week, every single time my pay came in, just to make sure I could do that. And that's purely because I prioritized it that highly.
Right.
If I didn't really care about it that much, I wouldn't have done that. But I think you have to actively think about whether you do. And if you do, then just set aside time, lock it in your calendar, and try to just focus on using that time properly.
Okay. Well, those are our questions from our viewers. I think we're playing a game.
Very good question.
We're going to play a game.
Sure.
Okay, so James, have you ever played Heads Up?
I think I have, but I don't think I use that name.
Okay, so Heads Up is this game.
He uses Pinoy Henyo.
This game that was popularized by Ellen DeGeneres. So you put the word on your forehead, and your teammate gives clues.
Sure.
And you have to guess what it is. So our theme for this episode is currencies. So since you're well-traveled, I think you're gonna do a good job. So James will be guessing for Team Coffee Break, and Shelly will be guessing for Team New Media Factory.
I'm sorry in advance.
Okay, so
excited
you just
to
get
win.
one and put it here.
Okay.
How many minutes per?
1 minute.
Okay.
Same.
Who am I showing it to?
Wait, paano nga may questions?
Okay,
Walang questions.
Clues sila.
Clues lang.
So there's a word. You have to guess what currency it
Can
is. So we'll
somebody
give you
stand in front of
clues.
Yes.
Yeah, Anna and I will give you
Para
clues,
coffee.
and Shelly, the coffee break team, will give you clues.
New media.
Sorry, new
NMF.
media will give clues.
Okay. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Can I look? No, kasi I can steal that later. Wow.
No, you can look.
So I just put it on my head?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Is it the
ready?
right way?
Okay.
Ready, set, go. This is where you founded your NGO.
Nepal.
What's the currency called?
Rupee.
Okay.
Sabi mo madali.
Go.
Okay, go. Yes. Okay, so this is where you go to eat sushi.
Japan.
What's the currency?
Yen?
Yay!
Yes.
Good job.
Like, I knew that. I should have gotten it. Damn.
Okay.
Hello. I'm gonna get some tea.
Pound?
Ay, walang nagda-time.
Ako din na type.
Okay.
Prague.
Czech Republic?
Yeah. What's the currency
there?
You
know this.
I have no idea.
Okay. Pass. Okay, Shelly. Hindi.
Okay. One more.
It's not part of the euro.
One more. Kroners. Is it kroner? Yeah. Okay, one more.
Okay. Wala na. Time's up.
James, you kind of failed.
Guys, I'm sorry.
How many points? Oh, we have 3 points.
Okay, 3 points. Okay, go, Shelly. You can
Okay.
do this.
Ko, baka mga anak ako.
Ready,
Set, go.
Google nyo, bilis.
Nag-mental block yung
Ay, sorry, nakita ko eh.
Yung iba na.
She gets the tough ones. Oh.
Saan you can help?
Okay.
nga.
Thailand.
But,
Okay.
Wait, you said the country.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to say. Are we allowed to say?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that upside down?
Vietnam.
Oh.
oh my gosh.
I wouldn't know that.
Vietnamese dollars.
Starts with D.
Dong.
Okay. There. I was gonna say gong. Hindi yun gong.
Korea.
Oh, I don't know. The others na lang. Pwede. Can you give me one that I have it?
Okay, your time's up though.
Okay, but you can do again. Okay, this one. This is easy.
Okay, this is like Spain, France, Germany, Italy.
Shit, ano nga yan? So, Euros.
Yay!
No, ano yung sa Swiss na tinanggal na? Francs.
France.
Okay.
Tapos yung Sweden naman, crown.
I would
Sweden
know
crowns.
crowns. One. Korean
The only
one.
currency I know is love. Charot.
Oh, I love it.
And then, yan. So, we win.
I think by a mile, no? Hindi natin sila i-contest doon.
Yeah, finally, we win again.
Okay, so James, thank you so much for joining us. We learned a lot from you, and I'm sure our viewers did too.
Is there anything you'd like to promote?
Aside from education is the key to success.
Yeah, just education. I mean, that's the mission I'm on now, and I think people here in the country value it, but I think they should invest as much as they can in education. That's the way to get out of poverty and really make a difference.
Love
All right, so thank you again, and we will see you next week. Bye!